The US government has declassified a lot of strange things in the last few decades: psychic warfare programs, MK Ultra mind control experiments, and remote viewing training for soldiers during the Cold War. But one project has remained redacted in nearly every mention. All but one. Tucked inside a FOIA release from the Department of Defense in 2003, a reference appears in a heavily censored file. Project Oubliette, terminated 1962. Remaining subjects, unknown. Test site, Facility 51C. Phenomenon, spatial displacement, uncontrolled. Reclassification advised. No further explanation.
No coordinates.
Just a name that translates from French to the forgotten place. Most people passed over it. One line in a sea of government ambiguity. But in 2011, investigative journalist Rachel Dawson picked it up. She'd spent years combing archives, chasing leads about secret Cold War bunkers and psychological trials. She found a mention of Facility 51C in an old construction report tied to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, an underground military annex originally built for nuclear containment. Except this annex didn't store weapons. It stored people. According to leaked memos, Project Oubliette began in 1959. Its goal: explore sensory erasure and the effects of complete environmental deprivation on cognition. The premise was simple. If you strip away all input, sound, sight, smell, gravity, the brain might open itself to alternate perceptual dimensions. 6 subjects were chosen. For men, 2 women. Volunteers, supposedly. They were placed in separate isolation units: no clocks, no sound, no mirrors, no gravity. Each unit was referred to as a null chamber. After 72 hours, the first subject stopped responding. By hour 96, the audio feed inside her chamber began to broadcast static layered with whispers, none matching her voice. When they opened the door, she was gone. No sign of struggle.
No clothing.
No heat signature. Just a smear of condensation on the ceiling and a single fingernail embedded in the floor. The project continued. They thought she'd had a psychotic break. Escaped. Self-harm. Anything but what the logs suggested. Subject 2 lasted 6 days. He began writing numbers on the walls, impossibly high primes. Some hadn't been discovered yet. His journal read, "There's a mirror inside me now. It shows a place I've never been. They're not reflections. They're waiting." He vanished mid-recording. A low hum filled the chamber. His final words, "I'm remembered nowhere." Rachel tracked down a former technician who worked on the project. An old man with tremors and cloudy eyes. He wouldn't go on record, but he told her this. The chambers weren't just cutting them off from the world. They were removing the world from them. One by one, they disappeared, like holes were punched in the air. By the end, the rooms were colder on the inside than out. Lights wouldn't work near them. Radios went dead. And when they pulled Subject 6 out, he was different. He'd aged. His eyes had no pupils. His voice wasn't his. We sealed the whole site, welded it shut, buried it, prayed. Rachel went looking anyway. She found the location after months of digging, just off a forest road near Anderson County, Tennessee. A rusted hatch beneath moss and stone. She forced it open. Beneath, stairs led down into blackness. She filmed her descent. The footage is still online. 32 minutes of shaky flashlight beams and rusted corridors. At the 27-minute mark, she finds the null chambers, round steel pods, bolted shut from the outside. 5 of them are cold and silent. The 6th is humming. Inside is a window fogged from the inside. Rachel breathes on the glass, and a handprint appears from the inside. She panics, runs, loses her flashlight. The final frames of the video show the hallway behind her flickering with light from nowhere, shadows stretching too long, and a voice, not hers, saying, "You shouldn't have come back." Then the video ends. She uploaded it the next morning on a burner YouTube channel, then vanished. Her car was found in a motel parking lot, room locked, ID still on the nightstand. The only thing missing was her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The glass wasn't broken, just blank, like it no longer knew her shape. Today, the hatch to Facility 51C is welded again. A private firm maintains the site under the guise of radiological hazard containment. But sometimes hikers nearby report a low-frequency hum. And once, in 2020, a group of urban explorers claimed they heard tapping beneath the ground. When they pressed their ears to the dirt, they heard a voice whisper, "They forgot us. So we made a place where forgetting can't reach." The first time Daniel Wexler rode the 11:57 p.m. bus, he was half-drunk, heartbroken, and exhausted. He'd missed the last city shuttle after arguing with his ex at a bar on 43rd and Jenkins. Portland's late-night service was famously spotty, but to his surprise, a city bus pulled up just as he was resigning himself to a long walk home. It wasn't familiar. The bus was matte black with no route number, just a glowing sign that read line 0 in red-orange letters. He hesitated at first. Then the doors hissed open and the driver, an older man with mirrored glasses, nodded without saying a word. Daniel stepped inside. That's when the weirdness began. There were no passengers.
No overhead lights. No announcements.
The interior was dim, the windows fogged with condensation. Daniel took a seat near the middle, rubbing his temples, trying not to overthink it. He figured maybe this was some new interlink or express route he hadn't heard about. He closed his eyes. But when he opened them 10 minutes later, they were no longer in the city. The buildings were gone. So were the streetlights. Outside was only forest. Dense, wild forest, dark as pitch. No signs. No cell service. No sound except for the hum of the engine and the occasional branch scraping the roof. He stood, walked to the front, and asked the driver, "Where's this route go?" The driver didn't respond, just kept staring ahead. Daniel tried to open the doors. They wouldn't budge. His phone was dead, even though it was 72% when he boarded. He moved to the back of the bus, hoping to find a manual release or a window latch. Instead, he found a journal, stuffed between two seats. The first page read, "If you're reading this, you got on the wrong bus." The entries that followed were panicked and fragmented. "I thought this was the hashtag 17 line to Belmont. I swear it said so. No one gets off. Every time I close my eyes, we're deeper in the woods. I think I saw someone outside the window running alongside, except their feet weren't touching the ground. There's another bus. I've seen it pass us twice. No driver. Just full of people who are screaming, but you can't hear them." One entry stood out. "At the 2-hour mark, the lights flicker. When they come back on, someone else is in your seat." Daniel checked his watch. 1:47 a.m. Almost 2 hours. He tried the emergency exit. Sealed. He shouted at the driver, who finally turned to face him. The man's mirrored glasses reflected nothing. Not Daniel. Not the bus. Just black. His lips didn't move, but Daniel heard a voice in his head. "You don't leave. You get replaced." The lights flickered. Daniel dove to the floor, heart pounding. When they came back on, there was someone else sitting across from him. A teenage girl, maybe 15. Pale. Blank-eyed. She stared through him like he wasn't there. He stood. She mimicked the movement. He raised his hand. She didn't. Instead, she smiled. A small, twitching grin that looked like it was stitched onto her face. Then she opened her mouth, and Daniel heard himself screaming. The next thing he remembered was waking up on a bench near Powell and 39th. It was daylight. His phone was working again, but 72 hours had passed. He called in sick, went home, took a scalding shower, tried to convince himself it was some kind of trauma blackout or drugged incident. But then he saw something. On the back of his hand, a stamp, faded, but visible under the right light. Writer, line 0, return void. Over the next few weeks, Daniel began researching. There were whispers online, threads, conspiracy blogs, archived posts deleted from local transit forums. A few others claimed to have ridden a phantom bus. Some gave different names. The Nightline, Route Null, the Forever Bus. All agreed on a few things. It only shows up when you're in emotional distress. You can't hail it. It finds you. And once you've ridden it, it remembers you. One woman claimed she saw it parked outside her apartment every night for a week after riding it once in 2004. Another man said it took his wife, literally. They boarded together during a foggy night. Only he came back. He tried to report it, but the official transit authority claims no such bus ever existed. And when he tried to show the surveillance footage, the timestamp glitched. The bus was gone from every frame. Daniel eventually uploaded his story to a private paranormal subreddit. It got attention, enough that someone DM'd him with an audio file. It was labeled simply, driver_speech.wave. He clicked it. It was distorted, grainy, like a warped loudspeaker from inside a tunnel. The voice said, "Thank you for choosing line 0. Your ride is indefinite. Your presence is appreciated. Departure is permanent." And in the background, he swore he could hear his own voice, screaming. When the emergency crews finally reached Larkspur, Montana, on January 4, 1972, they found no one. Not a single person. Not a trace of struggle, violence, or evacuation. Just a snow-choked town frozen in time. Meals half-eaten. Radios playing soft static. Fireplaces glowing. And every door locked, from the inside. Larkspur was a small mountain town, nestled high in the Bitterroot Range. Population, 126. A logging town past its prime, the kind of place where nothing changed for decades. That winter, they were hit with a record-breaking blizzard. From December 28th to January 3rd, the entire town was cut off. Roads buried. Power lines down. No contact with the outside world. Normally, this wouldn't have raised alarm. Larkspur was used to isolation. But on January 2nd, a distress signal was received by a ranger station 60 miles north. Just static at first. Then a single, frantic sentence. "We're not alone in the snow." Rescue teams snowshoed their way in, and what they found baffled them. Larkspur was untouched by violence. Stores remained stocked. Vehicles were parked as if frozen mid-errand. Not even signs of panicked departure. The school's chalkboard still displayed the date, December 29th. The diner's fryers were still warm, but not a soul. No footprints. No trails. As if the people had just evaporated. In the church basement, they found a journal. It belonged to the pastor, Father Thomas Yule. The last entries were dated December 30th. "Snow's still coming. More than we've ever had. Doesn't feel natural. Last night, Ellie Harper said she saw lights in the storm. Not from the sky, from the snow itself. They're humming now, beneath the wind. We all hear it. Doorsteps coated in ice. Even inside. Harold's house was frozen solid. Every pipe, every glass of water. Town council voted to gather everyone in the school gym tonight. I'll say a prayer. God help us." That was the final entry. Inside the gymnasium, rescue workers found rows of cots, neatly arranged, blankets folded, but all of them were empty. On the whiteboard near the entrance, someone had scrawled, "Do not sleep." One rescuer noted strange indentations in the snow around the buildings. Not human, not animal. Patterns, spirals, shapes that didn't repeat. One formation behind the post office resembled a figure 8, several yards wide, carved inches into the ice with surgical precision. No tracks led in or out, as if they had grown from the snow itself. The town was evacuated, or what remained of it. Buildings were sealed. Investigations launched. But no bodies were ever recovered. The official report cited environmental disorientation and hypothermic fugue. Unofficially, everyone was spooked. One technician claimed the radio towers near Larkspur picked up a faint broadcast on January 1st. Slowed. Reversed. When he played it forward and sped it up, it sounded like a voice saying, "We are inside the storm now." Years later, Larkspur became a ghost town. The roads were never cleared. The town is only accessible by foot or snowmobile. Occasionally, adventurers attempt to visit. Few succeed. But one man, an amateur documentarian named Rob Keating, made the trip in 2009. He filmed it for a personal web series. In his final episode, he walks through the still-standing remnants of Larkspur. Snow falls heavily. He pans over the diner, the church. Then, in the distance, he sees movement in the school gym window. He approaches, camera shaking. In the final frames, you can hear him whisper, "There's someone standing on the ceiling." The feed cuts to static. Rob was never seen again. Only his camera was found, buried in the snow. Still recording. Battery long dead. But when the footage was recovered, the final 10 seconds looped the same distorted voice. "The cold is awake." The first time Amanda Kim noticed something was wrong with her shadow, she was brushing her teeth. It was the last weekend of April, and she had just moved into a new apartment outside of Tucson, Arizona. A squat, two-story complex on the edge of the desert. Nothing fancy, a fixer-upper. The kind of place that baked in the sun all day and sighed through its walls at night. She leaned over the sink, mouth foamy, when something in the mirror made her stop. Her shadow. It didn't move right. It lagged just slightly, as if her reflection was buffering. She raised her right hand. The shadow followed half a second too late. She laughed, shook her head. "I'm tired," she muttered. But her shadow's mouth didn't move. Over the next few days, Amanda began documenting the anomalies. She was a freelance designer and kept odd hours, so she was often awake long after midnight. That's when it was most noticeable. Her shadow would twitch, stutter, sometimes stretch the wrong way even when the light source didn't change. Once, while standing in her hallway at 2:00 a.m., she watched her shadow walk ahead of her, reaching the kitchen before she did. She recorded it on her phone. When she played it back, the footage was blank, just static. She posted about it on a paranormal subreddit. Most comments mocked her. A few offered explanations: sleep deprivation, medication side effects, pareidolia. But one comment stood out, from a deleted user. It simply read, "She's learning you. Don't turn around when you feel her watching." Amanda tried to ignore it. She unplugged lights, covered mirrors. But then the dreams started. She dreamed of walking through endless corridors lined with mirrors. But her reflections were all wrong. One version was crying. One was clawing at the glass. And one stood completely still with no eyes. Only deep, empty sockets and a smile that stretched too far. She'd wake up gasping, heart racing. And always, without fail, her shadow would be facing the wrong way. On May 3rd, Amanda visited a sleep clinic. She described everything without sounding too insane. The technician, a man named Sean, nodded more than she expected. After her overnight stay, he handed her a manila envelope with a still frame printed from her room camera. It showed Amanda sleeping peacefully, and her shadow standing upright against the far wall. Not cast by anything, just there, as if watching her. Sean refused to speak further. He just said, "Don't try to confront it. Shadows don't like being seen." Terrified, Amanda fled the apartment. She moved in with her sister across town. Things calmed for a week. But then, while making breakfast, she opened the fridge door and screamed. There, reflected in the chrome surface, her shadow smiled at her. Even though she wasn't smiling, even though her back was turned, her sister thought she was losing it. Until one night, Amanda woke up to her sister standing at the foot of her bed. But her sister's eyes were closed. Sleepwalking. Amanda whispered, "Jess." Her sister tilted her head. Then, in a voice that wasn't hers, "You have such a nice shape. I wear it better." Amanda screamed. Jess collapsed to the floor. Didn't remember a thing the next day. Amanda reached out online again, begging for help. That's when she got the package. No return address. Inside was a VHS tape, labeled, "They're not attached. They follow." She found an old player, watched the tape. It showed a woman in a hospital gown sitting in a white room. Her shadow moved like smoke, curling, twitching, independent. She wept as she whispered, "It waited until I believed in it. It's not my shadow anymore. It's someone else. And soon, I'll be the shadow." Amanda began refusing to turn on lights at all. No lamps, no sunlight. She wore sunglasses in the dark, kept her eyes fixed forward. But one night, her neighbor saw her standing in the parking lot at 3:00 a.m., arms limp, head tilted, staring straight down at the ground. When he approached, she turned and smiled. Not Amanda's smile, wider, sharper, as if her skin didn't quite fit her bones. She said, "She stopped watching, so I took her place." Amanda was reported missing 3 days later. Her sister swears she saw her reflection wave from the bathroom mirror after she'd brushed her teeth, except she hadn't moved. And Amanda's reflection didn't match her expression. It grinned, and then vanished. A month later, a tenant moved into Amanda's old apartment. He lasted one night, claimed he saw 2 shadows in his room, one cast by him, and one that wasn't. When he turned on the lights, the second shadow didn't go away. It stood behind him, waving,